Welcome to Vibrationally Speaking. I'm your host, Leena Z, and today I'm speaking with a dear friend of mine, Eric Petersen, and he will be sharing his near death experience story with us. This podcast is actually inspired by all the incredible friends and spiritual souls that I've met over the past few years after my own experience. So I'm so excited to start this conversation with you, Eric. Welcome and thank you for being my guest today.
It is my pleasure to be here. I love our little connection. I love our laughs. You're going to make my light brighter today. You're sending lots of love, light, energy to me. I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you, as likewise as I am. Having had a shared, not a shared experience, but experienced experience of a near death or spiritually transformative experiences puts us in kind of a relationship to where we can understand each other almost with words and non-words energetically. So yeah, it's an incredible space to just be and share. So I'm excited to hear about your story, and I've got some questions, and maybe we can just have a chat.
Sure, you got it. Whatever you want.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey to your experience, and then your experience, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, it's really funky. It's a lot of dualities. Um, okay, when I was a child, I had moments where I'm very spiritual, and I was sensitive to things, even as a child. And but it seemed like forces of good and evil were around me constantly. I remember encouraging like voices that say, "Hey, listen to your mom. Be sure you clean up your room and stuff like that." And I remember thinking, "No, I want to play with my toy and take this part. Don't bug me," and stuff like that. And there's a lot of things. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I remember some dark things. We used to see a shadow person in the house, and I used to talk about the man in the black bathrobe in the closet, and I would always say not so good things. I didn't realize that until later. I did some things I wasn't supposed to do, so he had little forces. So I don't know. I just and then later in life I went dark. There's a lot of abuse. I had some issues where some negative things had to really happen, like almost being murdered and a few other things. But I know this moment is dark in this moment, but it changes to light in a moment. But so I had some dark things that influenced my life, got me into the cult. But thanks to the Lord, I had some really wonderful light experiences turned me around. So I now serve on the side of light. I talk about the light of Christ, the love of God. Love is light, you guys. In my experience, it was tangible. And light is love, and love is God. And it's just everywhere. And it's in all of us. And we're here. And I just kind of come back, and I would say it's our mission, the Lord and my own. I don't like to say mine too much, but it's our. I feel like I'm in partnership and to share the love of God because, you know, we have all these brothers and sisters on the face of the earth right now, and we have so many divisions. There's so many different denominations and religions, but you know what? We come from the same source, you guys, and it's all about love, light, service, forgiveness, and letting go. And we're supposed to, number one, really just help each other. You don't have to agree. I mean, tolerance isn't necessarily acceptance in lots of things. At least not in my path. But you reach out, and one of my big things is letting a lot of go, especially the repeat offenders. I always talk about that in our groups because that's annoying to me. It's like a rash, it doesn't ever leave. Goes away, comes back. It's irritating. But the thing is, it's like the love of God is real, and the other side is real, and our relationships to one another is real. I mean, it's tangible. We affect everybody. I mean, just even our thoughts and words affect everything. Our environment, with life and death, the blessing of Christ is in the power of tongue. Let's use it to bless one another and uplift and edify and support. And that's our basic mission, to be here for each other. I don't really care what denomination or religion you are. I mean, there's some I would prefer over others because some have more light knowledge than others. But however, it's about relationship to God, and to ourselves. And I'm here to witness and bear testimony that God is real, and we come from a place of light and love, and we're to share that and forgiveness, and that we're to spiritually grow. And you know what? We help other people spiritually grow. That in turn helps us spiritually grow. And if we need healing, we heal by service to one another. because if you're serving one another and you're in a place of healing, you know what? You heal because not remember, you're not thinking about your own issues. You're focusing on others. And it's just by ripple effect or reflection, you heal yourself, at least in part, on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. As you're saying that, this image keeps popping up in my head, and and it's funny because the image is just we are energy vibration in motion, and we are receivers and transmitters. We receive from one another, and we transmit back to one another. And I think understanding that the filter that we are, what comes through us must go out of us, as within, so without. It's almost like choosing to be love means clearing everything that goes and filtering it through love, like water filters, filtration system. And then we let light out. So I don't know, as you were saying that's the image that was showing up in my mind. So yeah, love it.
That's awesome. I gotta say, there's moments in my past where I was closer to God, and when you're growing up, you have your churchy moments, and then your not so churchy moments. We're kind of like the earth in relation to the sun. The sun is God. Part of the year we get close to the God, the summer, then we get like the winter, we pull back, but there's all lessons all involved with that. But I gotta say, I give the Lord all the glory and honor because He changed my life. He totally changed it. And the experience I mostly talk about is the second of three. I had a body out of body as a child. I'll probably share that another one. It's really brief. I think it's kind of funny to share it. I mean, it was kind of cool, but it was kind of annoying at the same time as a little kid. But this one I call refer to the white experience because I've had so many darn dark experiences, and I really did. I haven't gone into it, but I really did serve on the dark side, and I was actually pretty good at it and gifted at it, and I actually liked it. I felt powerful, and you feel charged. It's almost like adrenaline rush. So I understand people that get into these kind of cults and groups and things like that, but I won't talk too much because I want to talk about light and the higher vibrational light and more positive words, right? So, but I will say, this experience I'm about to share changed my life. It happened in 1989. At that point in time, it was actually my lowest point of my life. Okay, and most people have some kind of a deity experience or an angelic experience or some kind of awakening experience at their lowest point of life, at least often. And in my experience, it changed me. And I will say, when I crossed over, I did not want to come back, and that's a funny story. I'll get to that in a moment. But I just want to put out blessing and love and light to everybody that may be listening or seeing this, because God is real, and I'm hoping that His love will just come through. I know it will. I know it will, Lord. But it will come through to everybody, and it may help you deal with whatever issues, or maybe bring enlightenment, or some kind of edification. Maybe you feel better if you're not feeling so good, or maybe if somebody's listening, it might bring some understanding. I don't know. At least I hope so. But anyway, this experience happened in 1989, and it was after a moment I refer to as my Lieutenant Dan moment.
Okay.
And this is before Forrest Gump came out. And this is important to build up to my experience because I grew up kind of mad at the Lord, okay, God. I never really blamed Him for anything, but I had a lot of bad things happen to me, and I just buried it inside of me, and it came out one time. It's kind of comical. And so I was at my dad's apartment, and I just kind of yelled at the Lord for like 18 hours straight, just back and forth. I had a lot of energy because I didn't really eat or anything. I just yelled and yelled and threatened and screamed and bitched and moaned and all kinds of things. And at the end, I was pretty wiped out emotionally and tired. And I know my psych profile from the military says I can't really be broken, because even when I went to my boot camp thing, I did everything I needed to do in the service, but never really broke my will or anything. But I just did what I needed to do. So anywho, that's what I heard anyway when I was talking to some guys. But anyway, um, I had this one. This is where it all starts, because anyway, I went to bed, and I did put it out before the Lord. It's like, Lord, I've been trying to pray to you. I need a sign from you. I just need to know that you're there. Okay. I need something. I'm still sensitive to the dark side. I know they're kind of around me, but I need to know that you're there. And in my mind's eye, all I wanted was a book to fall over on a shelf, or just something unusual, just something like, just something unusual. Okay. That would have been enough for me. But then, no, that didn't happen, of course. So anyway, I went to lay down, and things did happen immediately. Okay. And so I was going, I probably was a half awake, half sleep phase. And this was not a dream. I've been asked this. No, I was totally cognizant. Anyway, somebody touched my shoulder. It was a big man's hand. And it shook me. And at first I thought it was my dad because he had gone away to Seattle to visit family. And I just kind of, oh, okay. Well, no, he's not. Okay, it's not my dad. Oh, what's going on? I thought, oh man, I wanted something to happen so bad. I imagined that, and I just kind of dismissed it. And I thought it was my blankets, but anyway, folding it on me, and I dismissed it. And then moments later, it happened again, and that's when the miracle happened. Okay, that's when my life really started over. As this person, I believe, who was the Lord that did this? I believe it was a big man's hand. I was actually laying down, so it'd have to come up basically from behind the bed, and it touched me. And as this happened, this fire, and it could have been a fire of judgment. The scriptures talk about it could have been my a fire of baptism reserved for that moment, or it could just been simply a cleansing. Because I had another time where I did experience this, and when I went to a holy site one time years later, not well, a little bit later, but anyway, as this happened, I could see it happening to myself and from another room, like I was looking through someone else's eyes. And I know other people have seen lots of different experiences like that and from different views. So it's called multidimensional viewing. And I thought, what the heck? What the heck? I didn't know what was going on. I didn't, I was like, and you could hear it kind of going. It was like a whitish fire. And by you knew it was kind of cleansing, I guess, but I didn't understand what's going on. So what is going on? It's shocking to me. And then and then soon thereafter, I got kind of like a magnet pulls, those magnets that pull. Um, it was kind of like that. It's hard. This part's difficult to explain, but I got pulled into a tunnel. Basically, a tunnel opened up, and I went through a tunnel, and I kind of went through that, and I kind of described that was the tear ride because you have those tear ride those when you go to amusement parks, and it was so reminded me of that in many ways, and I didn't know what you almost. I didn't do this because I didn't know what to do, but you kind of want to put your arms out there and touch the sides. I didn't know what to do, so anyway, it kind of reminds me of that. Kind of went around. It's kind of a lot like Stargate in some ways, and that was kind of cool when that show came out. It's like, oh my gosh, I can finally describe something that's happening to me. And luckily for a lot of movies and stuff, I have a point of reference. It's not as good, but it kind of gives you an idea of some of my experiences. So anyway, I will say this experience has completely opened my mind. It totally connected me to everybody best I could, and to animals and the earth. Oh my goodness! But anyway, I think my soul was a little bit waking up. I didn't really know what was going on, and when I came out of this tunnel, I was at a sheet of light. So I believe it was the veil before you really entered the afterlife. At least I think so. It's confusing to me a little bit, and so I believe this is when it was a representation of my spirit leaving the body. I think I'm not really sure, but it's a sheet of light. It was tangible. It was a veil, a super bright light. Like it was like lightning. It was like arc world of light. It was just so bright. Had little sparklies in it. Beautiful. I snow that you look at the snow. You have little crystal diamond things. It was awesome. Like that. It's beautiful. It was beautiful, and it was usually I was thinking one thing I never really shared my experiences was it was so bright that my eyes typically wouldn't take it because I have blue eyes. I see really good in the dark. I have better night vision than other people, but I hate bright light. I can't stand it. And anyway, but it was totally fine. I could totally take it. It was actually nice. And anyway, I went into this light and you're basically dissolved. So I think it was a representation, or maybe it was the splitting dimensions. I don't know. I'm not sure on that part. But when I crossed over, I knew I was into the spirit world. I knew I was completely detached from my physical body because a lot of my physical pain was gone, but I got to a lot of emotional pain was gone. I knew I was depressed. I was totally free from that. And this place was really beautiful. It was misty, and I've actually found that in scripture too. It was like cloudy and misty. I've heard other people talk about that too. It was so much like being inside a cloud. Okay, and I gotta tell you, number one, you guys, this mist was love, and it was light, and light is love, and God is light and love, right? Wow, it changed me. And then when I crossed over, a lot of things were happening. It's so hard to describe because my mind was starting to speed up a little bit. And it's like, wow, I've been here before. It's so familiar to me. Been here before. Been here before. You try to like what the heck? And I could not recall it at all. I tried. I didn't have any recall. And I believe this place also was a place of receiving for the spirits because I had other people coming in, animals and and people coming in from the sides of me and stuff like that. They're coming pretty dang fast. But I was actually mostly focused forward. And but I gotta tell you, this one part's kind of funny. It's really embarrassing. At least I felt embarrassed. Was I knew I was detached from the earth, right? And I felt like there's something wrong about that because I'm emotionally detached. I really didn't care about the earth that much. And I had the dumbest thought. I share this in all my experiences because it's kind of embarrassing. But and this is during the Cold War, you know. And I thought, well, what if a nuclear device goes off in my neighborhood? And a stupid thought, just this dumb thought, and this voice boomed inside of me, and it's kind of cool because it was God or somebody talking and says, "You don't need to worry about that." And I was so blissful and happy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that stuff. This is dumb."
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not. I was like, I'm happy. This is a great place. I don't know what's going on, but it's great. And you can see people in the background. You know, it's the thick. It was hard to describe because it's very bright. It's like, you know, being inside a cloud, the lightning striking, you pause it. It was very, very bright, but it was also soothing, and you could hear the like wind chimes and sacred music, and it had this wonderful smell. And I refer to it as the scent of God. People ask us like roses. It was like roses, but there's a smell here in Utah when the Russian thistle releases in about June. It's hard to describe the scent. Only Russian thistle smell. I always call that a scent of God because it makes me think of what I smelled over, and I love that smell. It's just one of my favorite smells. Russian thistle when it releases. Totally every year. Oh, the scent of God, Lord. I love that smell. But anyway, I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. Honestly, I just like what is going on. And you see people at different levels, men and women. Everybody had white robes, and everybody was busy, but everybody was joyful and happy. Everybody was just I don't know, just joy was everywhere, man. And anyway, so I guess I was there for a while, and then I started moving forward, and this was kind of cool because I got to go through like another tunnel. So I think it's like the way I kind of see it in my mind's eye. I never kind of described it exactly like it's like you have a high rise building, you come into the foyer, and you go through the doors, you come into a foyer, and then you meet the security and the people, and then you take the elevator to go. It's kind of like that, I guess,
Okay.
because I got the sense of ascending, you know. And I think I took the elevator probably to the highest floor, or pretty close to it.
Mhm.
Anyway, because I think I went way, yeah, I went because I went through another tunnel, and it was like going zillions of miles at warp speed. And this one kind of, you went through a tunnel, and they kind of flattened out, and then it kind of went back together, kind of planed out. It was kind of light, like light streaks and stuff outside, out, and then it came back together, and then it continued, just kind of kept going up, and I was starting to see my spirits waking up, and my abilities are coming back, like you're in the spirit. You can see thousands of miles away, and I could see the end of the tunnel, and which was like basically really millions of miles away. But your eyesight starts getting acute, and as I could see this figure with the arms out, and I like the Christus that the LDS Church has in the Temple Square, or it's originally the original Christus is in Our Lady of Cathedral of Our Lady in Denmark. It has the 12 apostles stuff. That's where the original one is. It has its arms out. It's kind of like looking at you and stuff. And
Okay.
anyway, I should have got that out so I could show you, but I don't have it close by. But anyway, it was awesome. He's waiting for me. He was waiting for me. And I didn't know at first who it was, but I started recognizing my spirit wakes up. Now, this is cool. It's embarrassing to kind of share this, but the feelings I had was awesome. I started getting excited, like, oh, I know him. I know him. I started remembering, like, I knew this person. So I remember I knew it was Jesus. I was like, holy moly, it's real. This is exciting. And I felt just like a little child. I was 22 years old. I felt just like a little child. Now that you like, I always describe it this way because this is the best way I can describe it. Imagine you're being 2, 3, or 4 years old, and you're coming down, you're stealing your little funky zipper up jammies, and you're catching Santa Claus putting gifts under the Christmas tree. That excitement as a little child, the squealiness, Santa, it's like that's kind of how I felt. But it was Jesus. It wasn't Santa, it was Jesus, and and I was getting really excited. It's like funny, and my heart opened up. I gotta tell you, the feeling I felt was crazy. I don't really talk about that part, but it was amazing. It was almost like a flower blooming. It just opened up. It's just crazy. And anyway, I'm coming in fast, and basically I get through the tunnel, and as you get closer to the tunnel, he has his light. Right, the tunnel seems to be getting the space gets darker, but I didn't really see a lot of real darkness because there's no darkness or turning a shadow on the side. There's no real shadows, but there's depth to give it perception. It's hard to explain. Boy, that's hard to explain. But anyway, I come out. I should have crashed and nailed him, but I didn't. I just and it's just a few feet away from him. And this is where my life completely, totally changed in every which way. I was already being changed from being pulled out and experiencing this environment, feeling the love and the peace and the blissfulness. But this is where it really changed for me. Okay. And so this is the, I would say, a born again moment. So anyway, I basically came out and there's all this fire around me, this lightning fire, which is a Shekinah glory. Okay. The eternal burnings. God, and the scriptures talk about God as an all consuming fire. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know scriptures or anything at that time in my life. Okay. And so anyway, I come out, you can feel the love of this person. He's a few feet away from me, but he was like a silhouette because the fire was so dang bright. And just imagine lightning, a fire made of lightning. That's what it was. It wasn't like earthly fire. It's lightning. It's pure and glory and stuff. And you could feel the magnificence of this. You knew you're in the presence of God the Son. You absolutely, surely, purely know it. It was undenying it. You just knew it. But you could feel the presence of the Father out there. And I'm not promoting any particular religion over another. I am a Christian. I believe in that. But I love all my brothers and sisters of different denominations of faith. It didn't matter. He's the creator, and there's a purpose to all these things for some reason. Okay. But nonetheless, I knew who I was in the presence of. You feel his love. You can feel him smiling at you, even though I couldn't really see him through the fire, lightning fire at first. And that's healing. And to be know that he knows you and he loves you is a lot. And but you feel his power and his knowledge. I mean, my gosh, you cannot believe the magnet that this could be a being like this out there. So he's like a person like billions of years in advance. And it was great. He loved you. You could feel it. You could feel him smiling at you through it. So anyway, he basically pulled me into it where he was and gave me my Embraced by the Light. Betty E wrote a book, Embraced by Light. Well, something similar happened, and I love that. And I give out lots of that, lots of those books. And he just held you. And it's like you're a baby in his arms. He just really loves you. You're kind of like that, except you're an adult personage, spirit. And I was a spirit, but I knew that I knew that I knew. I don't know where this knowledge came from, that I was hugging a fully resurrected being, because he was not a spirit at all. He was not a ghost. He was solid. He was a physical being, but he could touch me, no problem. And of course, he's God the Son. He can do whatever he wants. But you knew he had the full knowledge and awareness. He knew everything about you. He knew everything about us. He knows all things about the different worlds. He knew everything, and he left you. And you know what? It really made me feel like he paused the universe, just took the universal remote and paused it for the rest of us. And you know what? I wish there was a way I could describe the love of the Savior for everybody. That just work. We don't have the language. I wish I could. I wish I could mind meld it to you, because I can't express it otherwise to people, because we just don't have the language or the ability to express it here. All we can do is express it through our actions and forgiveness and stuff to other people. So anyway, I know it's kind of a repeat, but it's kind of cool, the introduction of the Lord. So anyway, he's hugging me, it's healing me. It's like a power plant. You just feel this wave, love it, like in waves, like whoo. It's just so healing, and just it's like a power plant or waves from the sun, like the sun. Oh my goodness. But anyway, so I'm with him. I still couldn't see him, even though I had the fire around me and everything. So after a few moments of being loved on, I don't feel like a baby before him, that's for sure. It's just like cuddling a baby. That's how you feel, safe and protected, nurtured. And you step back, and you couldn't see him because the fire was so intense. But you step back, and he starts turning it down. Okay, and then I started seeing they had his head was like a sun. And it's funny, you guys. I found all this stuff in scriptures later.
Isn't
How
that
he
amazing how it shows up later as
Yeah,
confirmation?
yeah. It's like his head like the sun, his eyes were like fire. He had white hair. Holy crap! At first, when he toned down from the sun thing, I thought that actually at first his white hair was surprised the heck out of me. I thought it was actually a reflection from the light from the lightning fire still going up
Mhm.
around us a little bit. He started toning that down, but that's what I thought it was. Like, if you have a lightning or um oh shoot, one of those lights, like an arc welded light, it flashes and it turns everything white.
Yes.
It was like that. It would be like that. That's the best way to describe it. And I thought that's what I was seeing. But I was looking at him. He had this eyes of fire. Boy, that was a little bit intimidating for me, but it's cool. But he's smiling at you. He just thinks he's just happy to be with you, man. You're not used to that. It was like he was the one happy to be with you. I mean, yeah, I was happy to be with him, but he was way more happy to be with me. I could not be like loving and so happy like he could. I just didn't have the ability. But anyway, so he turned it down, and I got to see him, and he flooded. He turned off the fire altogether, and I'm like looking at him, and he I think he changed so how I'd expect him more, but I didn't have any expectation. I did not go. I never had a really super close relationship with Lord. I had moments as a child. I'd go to church. I was thankful, and then I just kind of back off, do my kid stuff. And so I didn't have an expectation of dark hair, brown eyes, blue eyes. I saw him with blue eyes. And I honestly think I saw the truer version of him, but there's other people that see him with brown eyes, and it makes no difference to me whatsoever. And they were like sapphires with if you had sapphires that lit up, put light behind it, how scanning they would be, or like super, the blue Christmas lights. He had light, and he just smiled, but you feel scanned. You feel him penetrating you. But he's very, very loving, you know and just to be in his presence, it's amazing. So anyway, for time, I better start moving on a little bit. It seemed like the Lord would take me to different rooms. And at first, I got to say to everybody, I didn't know how we're moving. I guess we move at speed of thought. So a lot of things were being shown to me, or were being transported, and nothing was being explained. They just kind of showed you, just like, yeah, great. What does that mean? That kind of a thing. So, so anyway, started moving, and we went to this a room, and it makes you think you kind of like ascending. I can't say that for sure, but it makes me think like, oh, I had this experience on floor 12, and then I went to 12, 13, and 14. It's kind of like that. And at first, a lot of things were just white. Like it's almost like the Matrix. In the background, it was a white environment, but it was built like being inside a white building, but everything reflected a lot of light. So I
Okay.
went to another place. This is some biggest lessons I have learned. I always share this. I know it's a little bit repetitive, but it makes an important point.
Absolutely.
And I have most of my questions are on this experience I'm going to share here. So I was with the Lord, and I kind of said, like, I was thinking about our connection and my stuff and my relationship with him in life, and I says, where have you been? Kind of I guess even though I was being healed, so I had a little angst a little bit, and he let you take your space. You weren't afraid to mouth off to him. I mean, I wouldn't have mouth off, but you could take your space. And I said, where have you been? I was kind of annoyed because I've been praying all these years, and there's times I really think you needed to be there, and stuff like that. And he says, well, I've always been here. And I was like, I just don't really agree with that. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with that. And he took joy in that moment. He thought that was, funny. And he said, well, let me show you. And he just was matter of fact, let me show you. He says, well, I've always been here, but you distance yourself from me. And this is, he showed me all the dumb things I used to do. And every time he showed me something, I would be like, I call it like the Walmart parking lot lines. And every time he showed like unforgiveness, boom, I moved back.
Oh,
And anger, boom, I moved back. And these are not like steps, they're like big gaps, right? And anyway, he went off on I had these different sins, I had these bad thoughts, I had revenge and anger, all these different mean acts. I did a lot of mean things, and I wasn't even 250 feet away from him. I knew he wasn't finished, and and then he brought me back to it. But let me say, when you distance yourself from the Lord like that, you feel horrible because you are really magnetized to this person. You really don't want to be distant from him, and then you realize you distance yourself from him. You're the one that did that. That was a big lesson. Okay. Some people ask me if that's a past life review. No, I call it a character correction, because he told me, he says, well, I says he says, I know you didn't realize that, everything that I did, I know you didn't realize that, but now you do, because he wanted me to walk the path of holiness, to be loving and forgiving, kind of. So he held me accountable. He says, I realized you're a product of your experiences, you didn't realize that, but now you do. And he pointed to me, he says, now you're accountable, because he showed me a higher truth, and he was teaching me there's consequences to things. And we hurt him, we hurt ourselves, and we hurt others when we do stupid, vengeful and mean acts and things like that, because we're totally connected. you
mhm.
know the Lord is not happy when we're mean to each other and we plot against each other, and things like that. So I call it the path of holiness. Even though it is pretty holy for me, I'm full of holes. I can't even complete. I endeavor, but I really jack that up a lot of the time. But at least I could strive all the time. I'm better than I was, and but I could be much better. But I'm getting there. It's slow. It's slow for me, but I'm getting there. And so anyway, so we went to another place. This is And for anybody that may have an LDS background, it makes me kind of think when you're taken to the different rooms in the temple ceremony, there's rooms that represent different things. It kind of makes me think of that, but I don't know if it's connected to that at all. Just throwing that out there. Anybody has a talking about that. So there's an Easter egg for you. But anyway, so I went to another room with him and I was communicating. I don't remember what we were talking about at first, but he seemed like he was up higher. So it's like it was maybe a ramp. And I was kind of down like this, and he's talking to me. And I finally, was such a dullard. I noticed the prints in his hands and wrists and his feet. Now, I did not originally know he had prints in his wrists, you guys. And this was a big defining moment. I had the defining moment where I met the Lord, but this is where everything's changed. Everything, all my thought processes, everything. So I'm with the Lord. Well, he's just kind of talking like this. He's very animated, like with his arms, like I am with my arms, and and I just happened to catch it. And the robes he had on was, they probably went to about this high on the wrist. They're kind of
Okay.
open, so you can like work and do things, whatever. And I gotta say, the Lord was really a pretty big dude. He looked a lot like he was pretty stocky. He'd be a pretty good MMA fighter, I think. But he was very kind and loving. But he looks like he'd hold his own, and he looked like he was built for hard work. So when he was a carpenter, he probably did a lot of stone work. So he had to probably carry all the stone around all the time.
Like
But
he was the
he
full
was,
potential of a potential human man. He was the full potential, like in its
I
full.
guess so. Yeah, but he was absolutely stunningly. He was just awesome. I can't even describe. Just awesome. But he's a big dude. He was pretty. He looked like he'd hold his own, and be a pretty good boxer or something like that. But he was totally like, you didn't worry about anything like that. But anyway, I was looking at it, it's like, oh my gosh, they're huge, you guys. The prints was they're like railroad spikes, and they were in his wrist. I didn't know that at first. When I came back and started checking into it, of course they would have done it more in the wrist, because if you got nailed in the hand, you're hanging up there, it'd tear through your hands. You can't be suspended that way. So it'd be either in the wrist or in the hands. So it's referred in some sects as a sure sign of the nail. So he had that. So he had in his hand, in his palms, and in his wrists here, he had nail marks. And there, I should say nail marks. I would say spike, like railroad spike marks. They were really big, and then his feet, they're big. And you could tell that
You
he really
saw
suffered from.
him, so you saw Christ like after his human body.
Yeah,
It
he was still physical before me, but he still carried the wounds. Now I didn't see the thorn marks in his head or anything. From um and from the crown of thorns. I never saw that. I didn't see, where the spear got him from the side. I never saw he had his ropes on. But all I saw was the prints in his hands and in his wrists and in his feet. And they're good size, you guys. They look like a normal, like we have railroad spikes. And I think they might have been square, honestly, because the way his hand was, it looked like it was kind of like a square object would have come through and cut through the flesh, because it was looked like it was trying to heal. It wasn't completely healed, because I don't think it was supposed to. I think it was symbolic, but it was like the rest of it was like a normal hand, but it was kind of whitish through here. It's like it's trying like proud flesh almost, but it had like almost a line through it, like across, like where you cut through the skin to go through. It had that look, at least to me, that's look. I know other people experience it a little bit differently, but that's what it looked like to me. And only the other person I ever known after I've been sharing this for a long time, Dr. Jesse Duplantis, who also was a near death experiencer, on one of his latest podcasts. I mean, a lot of shows, whatever. He talked about his heaven encounter, and he was the only other person that ever described it like railroad spikes. And I happened to just catch it a couple months ago. I've never heard that described like that ever before. But so that was I went right to my knees, you guys. It's like, oh my gosh, this really happened. It really, the crucifixion was real. I never really thought about that too much you know. And I do have a funny story. We got into it with nuns about the man who was on the plus sign, because I didn't know about crucifixes at the time. Who's the man? That's Jesus. No, he's not. He's in heaven. So I got arguing with nuns. But anyway, that was a whole nother story a few years before that. But anyway, it really, oh my gosh, this guy, he suffered for me, man. He suffered. So I went to my knees on the other side. I was really humble, really quiet. And then he showed me just a flash of the crucifixion. I know this is kind of repetitive. I want to share this in my stories because it's important. Okay. And I'm here to bear witness of the Lord. And he showed me just a flash of the crucifixion, just for a second, just like that. And I always tell people it was actually worse than the Passion of the Christ. But what I remember distinctly feeling was the anguish and the suffering, just for a second. Like I got to feel it for a second. That was a lot. That was so overwhelming. That's why I just couldn't move. It felt like it took a lot out of you. Even though I was there, it just woo. it just irked you. And I was really kind of quiet for a while, and my whole demeanor was really different after that. I was like kind of quiet, and I was kind of processing, I guess you'd say, you know.
Yeah,
And huh?
not to cut you off, but I just want to say something here because I think it's so mm, needs to be said. As I'm listening to your story and you sharing your story, I see two things. I see the side of me that experienced my own experiences, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I know that, even though it didn't, for me, it didn't happen that way. But the part that happened for me, I resonate and understand from your experience. Like you said, you saw the hands and the mark, and somebody else who also had an experience saw the same thing. Now, to the human side of me that thinks, oh, that's crazy. That's, everything you're saying sounds okay, hypothetical, dream state, dreamlike. That's weird. But when you have more than one person having a similar experience, seeing similar things, but from a different view or a different angle, the way you're saying it, it's mind blowing because the thing is that just means that we all have experiences, and sometimes it takes us a lifetime or years to really pull that down and say, okay, that crazy experience you know makes sense, and how do I validate it or how I embody it, and the fact that you came back and changed from it, well, that is like amazing. It validates what you've experienced, you felt, and you saw, that it impacted you here today. So I just want to acknowledge that, and say thank you for sharing your story the way you're sharing it, because it does so much for me as I listen to it. So yeah.
I appreciate that, and I know everybody's experience is tailored to whatever spiritual need or awakening or course correction they need, or just let them feel they're valued and loved. I don't know, but it seems like every experience is tailored. But I needed this for me, and it became really, it changed everything. I mean, symbols became important. I didn't really care about crosses or anything really, symbolic before that. I mean, I love the Marine Corps symbol and stuff like that, and the flag and stuff, but like the crucifix became really important. The Eucharist, the chalice, the communion cup, all these different things changed at that moment. But it changed my heart, changed everything, made me open to know that this is for all of us, and it didn't matter who you are, what religion or anything. This was for all of us. So, but anyway, I'm going to start talking about some of my journeys. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I want to share some of the highlights. I've never been able to share my whole experience, but I want to. Part of I feel like the mission the Lord has, I call it our mission because I'm in partnership, is that share that the reality that He's there, He loves us, and I believe in the atonement. It's for all of us, and we're supposed to love one another. But I want to let people know how I was shown how much the Lord loves us, as you know, and some of the cool things on my journeys. So you can maybe call these other world journeys. I don't know. It was kind of trippy. It's kind of cool. So how much time do I have, Lena?
We have a good 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll have to kind of jump through this. Now, this stuff was kind of funny because I didn't know everything, but at this point, I will say, first I mentioned that I didn't know how I was traveling from place to place. Okay, but now, after this next moment, it started coming back. I started connecting to God's Wi-Fi, I call it, where you start knowing things or remembering things, and you had started using your spiritual abilities that you had before. Because I believe in a premortal existence, that we came from there first, and we were prepared to come to Earth from there, and then we'll return there. So anyway, this is all part. This relates to connection with our brothers and sisters and everything. So anyway, I before I go on, there was a part where I did, not in this particular room, but where I did ask the Lord why there's so many different religions, and He just said, matter of factly, you know what, people are where they're supposed to be, and I really didn't understand that at that moment until I came back on the side and saw that's exactly the case. So anyway, let me speed up. I got to go. We went to another place. It was kind of like, I don't know, like a platform or something you can see like into space. It's like, imagine being on top of the mountains and you got a platform where there's like ski lodges and stuff. You're kind of looking out the valleys, the mountains. I would describe it kind of like that, but you're looking at space. And there's just this lady that comes down from this Egypt, Greek looking temple. She looks like a Greek priestess. Don't know who she is. She had some kind of importance. She had an air of authority to her. She and so she came and joined us. Didn't say a word. So it was me. Jesus was on my left. I was there, and I was right. And then this lady, whoever that was, I don't know what she is. She was joined us on the right. So I don't know what her purpose is. So anyway, we got together and we kind of like hovered into space, which was beautiful. By the way, it was awesome, you guys. And the Lord says, "Look." So I'm looking with Lord, and all these worlds pop up, right? And they would look very Earth-like. I think there might have been exact representations of Earth, and so the first one popped in, it looked like being in orbit of Earth. I think they did look like Earth, but because it was so big and the land masses and the oceans stuff, I didn't really see the definition of the continents and stuff. But I would say, yeah, I think they're representatives. Then all these other planets, the same thing, like duplicates just came in, jumping in. So it just filled everything. It's already being in orbit and around this world. And you saw all these people on these worlds. They had white robes on. Everybody had robes on, and they had all varying degrees of light and glory and intelligence. And you're looking at these people, and there's zillions of them. I mean, zillions. I mean, all these worlds are like populated. You can zoom in and see all these people, And I came to the understanding that these people are post-mortal, and the light and glory and intelligence they have were based on basically obedience to scripture, to the light and the laws that they had, or there's whatever was available spiritually for the acts of kindness stuff. So basically it was opportunity, what you could do to spiritually grow and to serve others, and kind of like following a spiritual plan or discipline, or obedience, if you want to get legal, about it. So and but there was no judgment, from the other people that are higher up, and everybody served. So the people that had more knowledge and glory and stuff like helped everybody else. Everybody, it didn't matter. You helped everybody progress. And anyway, so I'm with the Lord and I'm looking, but I'm sorry, you guys, I was disobedient because well, you're the Lord. He's way cooler than everything. That was super neato. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, Lord. I couldn't help. I kept, you feel like a little kid. It's like your dad, you want to hang on to his leg kind of a thing. And I just kind of kept looking back this to him because he weighed neater, and and he yelled at me kind of. The only time he really spoke, I don't like using telepathy. It was like being to being, light to light, but he spoke. He says, "Look." Like it's important, stupid look, kind of thing. And he'd never say stupid, but it's to make a point. And I looked, and then all the worlds turned like the crystal or glass. I could see through the worlds. I could see all the people on the other side of the worlds. I could see me. They could see me. I didn't know what the heck was going on with that. And all of a sudden, a moment later, they all stopped and said, "John," my middle name, which I usually go by, not in these not in the groups, but my growing up family and I went by my middle name, John. They just kind of pointed. They all stopped and pointed. "John, we love you." And this big wave came out from all these worlds, and they hit me, man. And next to the love of the Savior and feeling the love of the Father out there, it was the biggest amount of love. It cracked me up. I kind of went down my knees. I started almost crying, which I never do. It was like, oh, I just felt tender. I didn't really cry. I just almost got there. It's
You're
like,
like
what?
overwhelmed with the love.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, who am I that these people even know me? And I started thinking, do I have to do something important? Am I like Moses? I didn't know what was going on, but I felt really popular, and I always share this because it was embarrassing, but I didn't have any point of reference for anything. I just thought I felt more famous, more famous at that moment than John Paul II, Marilyn Monroe, and President Reagan. And it's a dumb thought that just popped in my mind.
That's
You know, it,
amazing. That makes me smile so big.
it
My
was it was
cheeks
awesome.
hurt because yeah, it's how we see ourselves.
Yeah, it was awesome. And anyway, so I'm gonna share some of the sequences out of order because of time,
Okay.
but it won't matter in the end. Anyway, the Lord did let me go explore the eternities, and I got to meet a whole bunch of that was weird. Different things. And but after I got to explore, he sent me back and I was talking to him. And this is important. This has always got to be in the messages. And I was communicating, and I kind of was like this, man, like this. And he goes, "Well, what's the matter?" As if he didn't know, right? He's God the Son, after all. And I says, "Well, Lord, I feel ashamed that I can't love you like you love me." Okay. And this is where I want. This is really probably the most important thing that everybody needs to hear. And he says, "Okay, let me show you something." And he showed me all the waters on the earth, in the sky, under the earth, which we have great seas, by the way, got a lot of water on this planet. Every particle of water there is on bugs, on plants, and your drains, gutters, sinks, every particle of water that there is, that would represent his love for all of us. Okay. Then he was so nice to show me this one raindrop drops form over in a cloud over like in a raging ocean, and you saw this drop of water come down and just it was kind of comical and go plunk in the ocean. Now that represented my love compared to his love at my very best. Like if I was like my hero John Paul the Great, that would have been my very best I could do, living a life of love and stuff, compared to his magnet, all the waters on the face of the earth, in the air, on under the earth, everywhere. Okay. And then he has to go to tell me this, and I'm looking at him. He goes, you're not capable of loving like that. He stops and he points at me. Yet. And he leans forward. Yet. And that really, whoa, dude, because I always describe it this way, you're the infinite being. I'm a finite wormy. I felt like an amoeba. Honestly, I thought of an amoeba when he said that. I felt I'm an amoeba because I feel so lowly because I had no way can do that.
Mm,
Apparently, he sees the potential in all of us to live that way.
that was
So
beautiful.
yeah, it changed. It changed me. It's like when I was forced to come back Earthside. Um, so when people started doing mean things, like I totally changed. Like if someone flipped me off in driving or something like that, before I used to actually run them off the road. Really made me mad before. I was pretty ornery before, but now I'd see the action behind the action. It's like, wow, that guy loses his job. His mom passed away. Does his wife have cancer? You start thinking there's something behind like anger transference. You start seeing things different. I started like if there's an animal to hit on the side of the road, I stopped and had to check all of them. That's a lot of animals when you live in the mountains, kind of things. It just changed my perception. It just changed it. So anyway, but I wanted people to know that was just a representation of how much the Lord loves us. It gives you an idea somewhat, I'm sure, and it's not even enough. You cannot believe there's beings out there like that. It's crazy. And then anyway, but I do want to share some of these other things the Lord showed me. I'm going to kind of jump through them. Anyway, I was allowed to explore, and the Lord did show me. I got to see some neat things. I got to explore, and I met people of different religions on the side. And I was going up this, I guess it was a ramp. I think these guys, I think they must have got out of Interfaith Center or something. I don't know. But I met people that had been a different faith, different timelines in the past on the earth. And I went past, I was walking up this ramp, and this guy, they all had white robes, but sometimes they had clothes according to their cultures. Like this guy, he had been a Buddhist monk, but so he had an open arm, but had white robes on, but it was very Asian monk, stuff. And as I walked by him, and they're white, they flooded into color in the Shaolin colors. And the guy just simply said, and he had a shaved head and everything. And he says, in life, I was a Buddhist priest or a Buddhist monk. And I thought, okay, it's cool. And then I met people that had been Muslim, okay, and Sikhs. And I met a Catholic priest on the other side, and this other lady that was a nun, but she didn't have a nun habit on. She had some, I don't know, some nice dress from back in the day, kind of thing. It didn't seem to resonate with her energy, but I guess she did. She got tired of the habit. I don't know. So anyway, they meeting the Lord and feeling His love, and then meeting people that were really righteous in their life. They were Christ-like because you knew that they had lived righteously in their life, but when they crossed over, they accepted the Lord. Because they lived according to the light knowledge that they had in their respective religions and stuff. And I get flack from the Christians on that. And I says, I know we're supposed to evangelize here, but we don't know all things. We don't know all things here. And I'm just telling you, this is what I meant. And because they live righteously, they accepted the Lord on the other side. And they're still serving in whatever capacity they're serving. So, but anyway, and then there's another part. Where I got to see other worlds that were alive. I got to have my astronaut experience because I love everything to do with space. And I knew that was God the Father for me. And I found out that worlds were alive, that they're intelligent, they have spirits like us, they're
Okay.
smart like us. Go ahead.
The worlds are alive?
Oh, okay. Yeah, the planets are alive.
Planets.
At least where I went. Yeah, and I was totally shocked by that. They're totally cognizant because I went to a solar system that wasn't ours, and I think it was in normal space. It might have been spiritual space. I'm not sure, astral space, whatever. But it was a lot like what you see in Avatar, that Pandora, that purple gray planet. Now this is way the heck before those movies, by the way, way before it. And there's this big gas giant like that, and these planets were talking to God, and I could somehow you can see millions of miles like clear across space, and this other planet looked like there's a couple of them. One looked like Uranus, Neptune, so mostly gas giants. Apparently, I was just tuning into, and they were talking to God, and I don't know what they were saying. They're like having a conversation, and some would say like sound like whale sound, like whales, like humpback whales or whatever, and some sound like clicking, like click 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 click, click, and kind of like almost kind of made me think not quite like a dolphin, but kind of clicky, and then some like sound like crystal wind chimes and wind chimes, it just click. It's hard to explain this, but all I knew for sure that they were connecting to God the Father, and they were talking about whatever. I don't know. I wasn't allowed to listen in. It was like, what the heck? They're alive. The worlds are alive. They have spirit. They're sentient. Yeah, they are. They're completely alive. I'm not saying about dead moons and things like that. I don't know about anything about that at all. Okay, but I know
Uh,
typically worlds have a life and they have a purpose, and God names them all. There's a purpose. Another part I want to share is to when I was with the Lord. This is towards the end. Um, Not only was I allowed to see future events like the Gulf Wars, which I refer to as Middle East wars, I saw my future daughter. Her spirit, she was the last child of mine to come. I knew exactly what she looked like. I knew exactly her personality and everything. I was showing people I'd meet in the future, which I did. 6 years after, 6 and 7 years later, I met some other guy on the other side in spirit first, and met him. I believe it was 6 or 7 years my time, Earth time, and it was like so. I had my experience in '89. I met him. I think it was a 1997 or 96, but for him, it happened for him like in 1973. So the time dilation was totally different. He'd
yeah.
been waiting for me all the years, and it was like, I think it was 23 years or something. Like I can't. That's just off a guess. It was like 27 years for him, and like 6 or 7 years for me. And that was crazy because when I met him, I was coming out of the bathroom. He was walking in, and our spirits quickened. It's like a little lightning bolt. I call it a quickening. And it was
I've had
like,
that
hey,
experience.
yeah, it's cool. And he goes, hey, it's you. At the same time, we never seen ourselves in our biosuits before, but we remember each other. So he ended up being a real good buddy of mine. I called him Soul Brother Bill or Zen Yoda, and my little nicknames for him. He was kind of wise. Another thing, the Lord showed me how people are connected. This is really important. This is on the podcast. Um, I do try to share this as off scale. Sometimes I forget, but um, there's a part is there's a video that came from Michael Jackson back in 1989. I think it was the black and white one, and he morphs into men and women.
I
But
love
anyway, yeah, okay, great, because this is
remember
really
that
good.
video. I love that video.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that video other than that's like my experience when I only saw it once. Honestly, I only saw that video once that I can remember. And anyway, I remember. Oh my gosh, that's like my experience because I was standing before the Lord. He's let me show something, and then he started morphing his face. Okay, and I could see myself in him, and I could see like a younger version of my grandfather in him, and like family members. But I could see he started doing it. So men and women, I could see a lot of people I didn't even know, but men and women. He started doing it, and it was kind of relating to like we're literally created in the image of God. It's like, oh my gosh, we really are. We truly are. You know. So, but I mean, there's a lot more that actually happened, but he did give me clues to find things in scriptures. I will share. I usually don't get to share this in experiences. So this will be like explicit just to yours.
Okay.
Um, Now, there's parts where I was with the Lord, and I was totally in denial about coming back here. So I lived on the river denial over there
Okay.
because they kept saying, I didn't talk to a whole lot of other beings, but when I did, they said, when you go back, I'm thinking, I'm not going back. I'm dead. Don't call us dead. We're more alive here. They get mad at me. And they never really get mad. They just were not happy with that I said that. But I was told, I was shown a couple things. I was like talking to the Lord, and here you are in this beautiful, sterile, clean, no uncleanness over there other side. And I'm talking on the other side, poof, right in my hands. There's unclean rags in my hands. Okay. Now there's a scripture point to the thing. In fact, it startled me so bad I threw it up in the air, because it's like it wasn't 1 minute it's there, and 1 minute wasn't there, and 1 minute is there. And the way it was shown to me on the other side, it was like if you're a car mechanic, you had grease on your hands,
Hmm.
but that's not what it really means. There's a he, and I said, "What?" It scared me. It startled me, and he says, "Someday you'll understand what this means." And by reading it, the scriptures later, it talks about. I don't mean to get graphic, but there's a reason. He says it refers to a scripture that all our works are as unclean rags. It means all the best we can do is pretty much unworthy, compared to the work he did for us. It's like grace, when we do our part, and then he fills in the gaps, kind of thing. In a sense, I mean, compared to the marvelous things he did for us, all our works was like as filthy rags. But it actually refers to, it's going back to the old days, to women's rags. So it was even worse than what he showed me. But I probably wouldn't have understood everything then. But it was just enough to make me remember, and I did find it in the scriptures. Plus, I found the part where his white hair, his eyes of fire, like his son. I found all these little things in the scriptures later, because when you come back, you want to learn all things learnable. And I just had this just insatiable desire for. No, I read books and books and books. Yeah, meantime, that's kind of typical for experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't want to learn all things learnable. And I mean, in the meantime, everything was going wrong. My car stopped working. Everything started. They didn't prepare me for the opposition that when I came back. But I was told, I will share this. I don't share this in most of my experiences, most of my talks. But there's a part he said I'd be misunderstood almost by all. And the people that understand me are people like yourself, other experiencers, people that was shown that I meet in the future, which I did years later, and super enlightened spiritual people. There's like three groups of people that get me on that. Other people think, well, he's probably a pretty nice guy. We'll be nice to him today. I mean, tomorrow. It's just kind of weird stuff. It's just life. And so that's all I came back with. But I gotta tell you, I kind of thought the worst was over. Oh no, things really changed when I came back. It just everything started going wrong. Car would never work. All kinds of problems. It just was dumb. Lost my best friend, his family. But see, years later, I look at things like he's taking away stuff that would like hold me back. You know, and you had to experience loss and different things and go through spiritual lessons.
Mm.
So there, he's cutting the chaff from the wheat, kind of a thing, in a sense. So I understand it now, but back then I sure didn't appreciate it at all. I wasn't like told, it's like, what the heck's going on? But I did come back, I had a lot of gifts. I was really psychic when I first came back, super psychic at that time.
Hmm.
And I knew that was used for witnesses for other people. But my message is love and light, you guys, forgiveness, letting go. We're all supposed to be on the same side. We're all connected. We have brothers and sisters in the star nations we're connected to. I don't know a lot about them, but they're there. I don't I don't know. Let's focus on us. Number one, our world for right now. But I mean, we live in such wickedness and darkness and selfishness, and we got to be a light unto others. We got to be there. We got to be hand that helps lift up the people that are on their knees. Let's lift each other up. Serve on the side.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much, Eric. It has been such a pleasure to spend time and space with you and to hear your story personally,
I'm so happy to be here, Lena.
to and to get to ride that wave with you. The reason why I started this podcast and the reason why I think we all do these kind of podcasts and these kind of conversations is because we feel called to share experiences, and by listening to each other, we can integrate our own experiences, because as you and I have discovered, we don't have to have a near death dying experience in order to understand love and light and merge with the light, or have those kind of experiences, right? We can have them in our waking state without that. And that's kind of what I'm gathering. And I've got a lot of those too. And I love hearing the stories. But, where my fascination lies is when we come back, it really, like you said, it breaks apart our life until we understand and integrate it into our
Mhm.
experience. And then it's all of a sudden you're like, it's like coming back, and then you have to physically put your physical body suit on top of that clear awareness and knowledge that you just came back from, and it's like, oh, it's like your suit's on. you know so I'd like to invite you back for a second episode where we get to delve into how these experiences are showing up in your life and how they are affecting how you go about your day and how you choose to see the world and how you choose to react to people and to situations. Because I think we have these experiences so that we can come back and change our experiences here, like now, like the way we are doing it and the way we're connecting. And I think it's beautiful. And I think that's how our light is shared, as just by sharing the experience, right? Because that's our light. So yeah,
Man,
it's been such a wow, blessing to have met you and to know you and to share space with you. And I hope that whoever's listening to this really looks at this as not the experience, but how this makes them feel about their own life and their own experiences and what that is telling them. And because you know, we connect with frequency first before we connect with physically. So um that to me speaks volumes, because I think we have a soul connection. I believe you are part of my soul family, connected here on earth. So I am really, I'm overjoyed to know you and to hear you and to share your energy, your love, your light with my world. So thank you.
thank you for blessing me, man. I totally agree, and I look forward to sharing the ripple effect of this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome anytime. Thousand blessings be upon you.